Imagine having the chance to go back in time and change one event from your past. What if, after making that change, everything around you started to shift and reality itself was altered? This is what happens to a physicist professor named Sam, who has been working for years to change one crucial moment from his past. Sam is a dedicated teacher, always lecturing about time travel and dark matter, but his students rarely pay attention to these complex topics. This lack of interest leaves Sam feeling down. One evening, while staring at a magazine photo of a supermodel named Helena, who was once his college classmate but moved to Spain after becoming famous, Sam reflects on his own life. Despite his accomplishments, Sam is still single, something he has never been able to fully understand. The reason, however, lies in an event from 1991 that changed everything for him, a moment he deeply regrets and wishes he could undo. After a day of teaching, Sam heads to his lab, determined to make a time machine. His friend Luke, who was with him during that fateful night in college, works alongside him on the project. Both Sam and Luke were once part of a college-sponsored research initiative, backed by a wealthy investor named Sandra, who is also an old acquaintance of theirs. Though Sandra had invested a significant amount of money into the project, she is growing frustrated with Sam, as the time machine has not been completed yet. Sam explains to Sandra that, although his time machine is nearly finished, it still needs an immense amount of energy to activate. Unfortunately, he's unable to power it up at the moment. Sandra, however, is not interested in his explanations. She's already invested a significant amount of money into the project, trusting Sam as both a friend and a scientist. Her patience is running thin, and she demands results now. She wants to see the machine working as soon as possible. No more delays. Sam, torn between his loyalty to Sandra and his personal desire to change the tragic event from his past, knows that this is his one shot. His heart is set on going back to 1991 to fix the mistake that changed the course of his life. However, the machine's energy requirement makes it impossible for him to do it on his own. That's when Sam decides to take a risk, one that Luke strongly protests. Sam contacts an electrician, someone who, though not legally authorized, has the ability to temporarily supply the entire city with power through his machine. Luke, fearful of the consequences, refuses to help, but Sam is determined. He knows this could be his only chance. Sam steps into the time machine, enters the exact date and time of 1991, and signals Luke to start it. With a hum of power, the machine suddenly comes to life, glowing brighter than ever before. The city's power grid remains stable, and the machine runs at full capacity. A swirling wormhole opens at the center of the room, drawing Sam in. For the first time, everything seems to be working as planned, but as soon as Sam is absorbed into the wormhole, something unexpected happens. The lights throughout the entire city go out, and a complete blackout descends. In the blink of an eye, Sam finds himself transported, disoriented, to a strange place. It's a factory, one he recognizes as the location where his old lab used to stand in 1991. He couldn't quite grasp where he was or what had happened the night before. His memory of the previous evening was a blur, and he couldn't remember anything about the lab or the time machine. In his dazed state, he started walking aimlessly, trying to make sense of things, eventually hailing a taxi to take him home. To his surprise, the taxi driver only asked for a very small amount of money, far less than he would have expected. When Sam tried to pay, the driver refused, claiming the money Sam handed him was fake. Sam was baffled, but he couldn't argue, and somehow he managed to get out of the situation. As he arrived at his house, he tried to open the gate, but the key wouldn't fit. It was then that a sudden realization hit him. The events of the previous night, the time machine, the lab, everything, were not just a dream. He had actually tested the machine, and something had gone wrong. Sam began to carefully observe his surroundings, and it quickly became clear that everything had changed. The streets, the buildings, the people, they all felt different. In a rush of panic, he stopped a man walking by and asked what year it was. The man confirmed Sam's fear. It was 1991, the very year Sam had been trying to return to. Somehow, against all odds, the time machine had worked, and Sam had traveled back to the time of his college days. This was the moment Sam had been waiting for. He now had the chance to change the event that had haunted him for so many years. He quickly began making a list of the important events from that time, making sure he wouldn't forget anything crucial. But as he went over his list, Sam remembered something else. He had no money back in 1991, but since he had come from the future, he knew he could find a way to make things work. Spotting a bar nearby, Sam entered and saw a group of people watching a football game. With the knowledge of the future on his side, Sam confidently placed a bet, knowing exactly which team was going to win. That night, Sam carefully prepared for the college party. This was the moment he had been waiting for, the chance to change the event that had defined his entire life. As he entered the party, he noticed two familiar faces, Luke and Sandra. In the future, Luke had been Sam's lab partner, and Sandra had funded their project. But here, in this time, they were just his college classmates. Sam couldn't believe his eyes. Not wanting to draw attention to himself, he quickly found a way to blend in. Sam wrapped a bandage around his face to hide his identity, trying to stay under the radar. He knew exactly where his younger self would be at that moment. Sure enough, across the room, he spotted the younger version of himself. Sam watched as his past self nervously approached Helena, the same supermodel Helena whose picture he had seen in a magazine back in his present life. In the future, Sam realizes that Helena will become a successful model, and because of this, she will eventually leave him behind. One day, Helena sits down with young Sam and tells him that, although she loves him very much, she is in love with another boy from their class, Rick, who is very wealthy and also likes her. However, Helena says that today, because Sam insisted, she wants to stay with him, which makes young Sam incredibly happy. But as soon as Helena leaves, future Sam approaches his younger self. At first, young Sam can't believe that his future version is standing before him. However, future Sam begins to explain everything that is about to happen. He warns young Sam that at the party tonight, Rick will spike his champagne and make fun of him in front of everyone. Helena, despite claiming to love Sam, will side with Rick because of his money, and Sam will face humiliation that he will never forget. This will be the moment when Helena will leave him to chase her dreams in Spain, becoming a supermodel. Sam will be left alone, heartbroken, and unable to recover from the embarrassment. Future Sam then tells his younger self how to avoid this fate. He gives young Sam some advice on how to become rich and never have to worry about money again. Armed with this knowledge, young Sam goes to confront Helena. When Rick comes to offer him the drug champagne, young Sam already knows what is going to happen. Instead of drinking it, he switches the drink and gives it to Rick. Rick, now feeling the effects, has to flee from the party. Young Sam then tells Helena that from now on, he won't need Rick or anyone else. With the information his future self gave him, he is set to become incredibly wealthy, and he promises to give Helena everything she wants. Deep down, Helena still loves Sam, and seeing his determination, she agrees to stay with him. As Sam watches everything unfold from above, he feels a wave of satisfaction. His years of hard work had finally paid off. He had successfully altered the timeline, and the changes he made in the past had set a new course for his future. Now, with the timeline reshaped, Sam begins his journey back to his real time, traveling from this altered reality. When Sam returns to the present, he's shocked to find everything drastically different. He wakes up in a luxurious house, a clear sign that the choices he made had made him incredibly rich. As he watches the news, his excitement grows when he hears that Sam is now the richest man in the world. Overjoyed, he can't believe how his life has changed. But then things take an unexpected turn. As Sam revels in his newfound wealth, he notices someone coming out of the washroom. He assumes it's Helena, now his wife, but to his surprise, it's someone else. His confusion deepens when Rick enters the room and addresses Sam as Sir. It dawns on Sam that in this timeline, Rick is no longer a rival, but rather his junior, working for him. Even more surprising is the woman Sam sees, a famous model whom he had once paid to sleep with him in exchange for money. Sam can't make sense of this sudden shift in his life. He wonders why, with Helena still in his life, he needs more women. How had he changed so drastically? He doesn't remember anything about this new timeline. Before he can process it all, Rick urges him to hurry up, reminding him of his court case hearing. Sam's mind races as he realizes that, despite the huge changes, he now has control over everything. Sam arrives at the court hearing, where he quickly notices that he is facing serious charges for his actions. However, thanks to the wealth and influence he had gained by betting on future events, thanks to his future self's guidance, Sam easily escapes the charges. He had bribed his way out, and the judge clears him of all accusations. As Sam continued to learn about this new version of himself, he became more disgusted with what he had become. The more he understood, the more he hated himself. The worst shock came when Rick revealed something that completely changed Sam's view of his past. Helena, the woman he had once loved, was his first wife. Sam had married Helena, but when she found out he was making money through dishonest means, he had her thrown in jail. After that, Sam married 4 more times, and big supermodels always came to him whenever he wanted, just like the one from this morning. Realizing all this, Sam understood the full extent of the damage he had caused. In this new timeline, his other self had turned into a person who did whatever he wanted, no matter who got hurt. Anyone who opposed him was sent to jail. Sam started to realize that even the smallest change in the past had huge consequences. The mistakes he made back then had created a future he could never have imagined. Determined to fix everything, Sam decided he had to go back to 1991 and undo all the changes he had made. He knew that his own sadness in the original timeline was a small price to pay if it meant the other people whose lives were ruined by this new timeline could be happy again. But there was a problem. In this timeline, Luke, his old friend, was coming to kill him. Sam had wronged Luke in this version of events, having falsely accused him of something. Sam decided to tell Luke the truth. He explained that he had traveled to this timeline from the future. He told Luke that he had gone back in time and shared information about the future with his younger self, not knowing that his younger version would become someone so corrupt. Sam also revealed that his memories were still from the original timeline, and he knew how to make the time machine again. He planned to go back to 1991 and let everything happen the way it originally had. Luke was skeptical at first, but after hearing Sam's story, he agreed to help. Sam, now wealthy in this timeline, quickly built a new time machine. Before he traveled back, he took the time to release Helena from prison and apologized to her for everything he had done. Wearing a safety suit to ensure he wouldn't lose consciousness like last time, Sam was ready to return to the past. When Sam arrived in 1991, he noticed that he had arrived a little too late. The party he was aiming for had already started. Undeterred, he entered the party in his safety suit and looked for his younger self, determined to fix everything and make sure the events unfolded as they were supposed to. In this timeline, there are 3 versions of Sam. The first one, Sam 1, is the original Sam from this time. The second version, Sam 2, is the one who came earlier to change his past and has a bandage on his mouth. The third version, Sam 3, is the one who came in a safety suit. Sam 3 watches as everything unfolds in front of him, just like it did before. Sam 2 is talking to Sam 1, explaining things about the future. Sam 3 decides to let everything happen as it originally did. He steps in front of both versions of himself and watches as Sam 2 starts to fall unconscious. Sam 3 tries to stop Sam 2 from changing anything. He explains how the timeline will be ruined if Sam 2 continues and how his younger version will become corrupt. But Sam 2 refuses to listen. He just came back from time travel and is determined to complete his mission. The two Sams begin to argue, and Sam 3 shows Sam 2 a gun, telling him to wait and think things through. After some time, Sam 1 wakes up and finds a note next to him, saying that he's been pranked and should go to the party and enjoy himself. Sam 1 thinks he's just hallucinating and decides to go along with it, still believing that Helena loves him. Meanwhile, both Sams watch from a distance as Sam 1 heads to the party. At this point, Sam 3 is still being held at gunpoint by Sam 2. Sam 3 has made the decision to let everything play out as it originally did. However, just as Sam 2 is about to carry out his plan, there's a twist. Luke from Sam 2's timeline sneaks up behind Sam 3 and grabs the gun from him. It turns out that when Sam 2 went back in time to fix things, Luke had an idea of his own. He decided to use this opportunity to change his future as well. Luke reveals that he had always been in love with Sandra back in college, but he never told her. Now that he was rich in this timeline, Luke planned to become successful and win Sandra's love. Sam 2 and Luke decided they had to tie up Sam 3 so they could control the situation. They wanted to make sure that their past versions would listen to them and change the future as they wished. So they tied up Sam 3, ensuring he couldn't stop them. Meanwhile, Rick had tricked Sam 1 into drinking the same drug drink again, making him weak and unconscious. As Sam 2 and Luke carried out their plan, Luke changed his approach. This time, he wasn't going to leave Helena out of the loop. He pointed a gun at both Helena and Sam 1, saying that the last time everything went wrong because Helena didn't know what was really going on. This time, they would tell her everything and include her in their plan. At the same time, Sam 3, who was tied up alone, managed to catch Sandra's attention. He quickly showed her the future photos on his phone and convinced her that he was a future version of Sam. He stressed how important it was for her to help free him from the ropes. Sandra, now believing him, untied him. Sam 3 then pretended to stay tied up as Sandra left. Back where Sam 2 and Luke were holding Sam 1 and Helena was shocked to see 3 versions of Sam standing before her. Sam 1, still drugged, passed out again. Taking advantage of this, Sam 3 attacked Luke from behind, knocking the gun out of his hand. With Luke distracted, Sam 3 quickly turned his attention to Sam 2, and a fight broke out between the two of them. Sam 2 was desperate to change the timeline, no matter the cost, but Sam 3 fought back fiercely. He managed to overpower Sam 2 and stopped him from making any more moves that could alter the future. Sam 3, realizing how much had already gone wrong, decided to tell Helena the painful truth. He explained that tonight, his current self would be humiliated by his drunkenness, and that would set the course for the next 25 years of his life. He would be left alone, broken, and nothing would go right. Sam 3 had already tried to change this reality once before, but the consequences were disastrous. If things didn't stay as they were, the time machine he had created would cause an endless cycle of people coming back into the past, to change the future, creating multiple timelines that could tear apart the very fabric of reality. Sam 3 then asked Helena to make a promise. She couldn't meet him for the next 25 years. He would travel into the future immediately after tonight, and only after those 25 years would they be able to be together. He told her that, even though they loved each other, this was the only way to save the space-time continuum. Helena would need to leave and go to Spain, where she would become a supermodel. She would have to completely avoid Sam during those years. Helena, heartbroken but understanding the gravity of the situation, agreed, even though it tore her apart. Sam 3 gave her everything in writing on a note, instructions for what had to happen with the drunken Sam one tonight. Helena had to make fun of him, as his future self had instructed her to do. It was all part of the paradox that would erase the timelines created by their time travel. So that night, Helena followed the instructions. She humiliated Sam one in front of everyone, breaking his heart just as Sam 3 knew she would. The moment she did, the timelines began to collapse. Sam 3, Sam 2, and Luke all went back to their respective timelines, the three timelines merging into one once again. The secret timelines created by their time travel vanished, and everything reset to how it had been before. As Sam came out of the time machine, everything fell back into place. It was as if nothing had ever changed. Luke, confused and worried, asked Sam what had happened, especially since Sam had worn a safety suit, which meant the time travel experiment had worked. Luke believed Sam had succeeded in changing everything. However, Sam, knowing how dangerous this was, didn't want that to happen. He rushed to the time machine, determined to make sure no one could ever use it again. Sam began destroying all the data files in the machine, quickly deleting everything to ensure no one could ever build another time machine. Sam knew that changing the past would start a never-ending cycle, but his friend Luke wasn't upset about it. Sam reassured him, revealing that he had already gone back in time and confessed his love to Sandra, meaning that from now on, they would be together. With that settled, Sam headed straight to meet Helena. He had asked her to meet him exactly 25 years later, and today she was returning from Spain. The two reunited at the airport, and Helena shared that she hadn't met the Sam from this timeline in all those years. Their timelines were now aligned, and she had been waiting for him to return. Together again, their love could finally continue. Luke, though happy for them, mentioned that they were still poor. But Sam had planned ahead. He had told Sandra back in the past to buy shares in a company called Google, which would become very successful in the future. This is why Sandra had so much money now, money she had used to fund Sam's project. Sandra had been pressuring Sam for years, but it was all part of the plan Sam had set in motion. He had also told Sandra not to reveal anything to the version of Sam from this timeline until 25 years had passed. With the wealth Sandra had accumulated from her investment, Sam, Helena, Luke, and Sandra would be able to live comfortably forever. It was the perfect plan. In the end, Helena looked at Sam and said, "You changed the past." Sam smiled and replied, "Yes, but all of this was meant to happen in the original timeline. I've waited 25 years for this, and I deserve it." With a happy ending, the story wrapped up, leaving the audience satisfied with the twists and turns of the time travel journey. If you enjoy mind-bending time travel movies like this, be sure to subscribe to the channel and give a thumbs up.